Today, I'm going to be giving you the ultimate Yoru guide, the only Yoru guide you'll ever need in Valorant. And be warning, if you're going to be playing Yoru, you're in for a lifetime of eternal pain. It really is tough to play him, but I'm going to be giving you the best tips for him, and so you know how to use him effectively, including his abilities, his playstyle, and how to pick up kills with him. So if the video does help you out, be sure to drop a like on it. Now first of all, we're going to be starting off with Yoru's playstyle, and Yoru is actually a duelist, which in other words essentially means he is an entry fragger. If you've played any other entry fragger roles such as Reyna or Jet, you'll roughly know what he's like. An entry fragger's job is to make the first move. They are the one to take the first engagement, get their team onto site, and secure the early map control. If you've started the round, the Reyna, the Jet, the Yoru all should be the ones pushing in first. There should not be a Sage in front of them. You're the one who should be going in first, taking that first engagement, securing that first kill, getting your team onto site as easily as possible, maybe dying in the process, but hey ho, you got your team onto site, so you have done a good job there, and making sure that your team gets on safely. An entry fragger should be efficient with clearing angles, getting onto site quickly, and knowing the best place to push from. But most importantly, they should obviously have good aim, because they need to take that first kill, whoever's going to be on that side. And Yoru definitely suits this role quite well, as he has his abilities that he can TP into the site or potentially somewhere else if it gets a bit too chaotic on the site. And he can also use his flashes, which allow him to blind enemies and get further onto the site. You want to be making sure that you're using the flashes to aid you in getting onto that site very quickly. And especially if there's another duelist or an entry fragger on your team, I want you to also work with them, communicate with them, and get your team onto site as effectively as possible by using you and both of your abilities. And the main key to actually having this playstyle and using it is making sure that you're being very aggressive and you're not afraid to push in when it really goes down. You have to be able to go in even when there's literally fire and Viper walls everywhere. You have to go in, which is what I do. I sometimes die, but the fact is I got my team more map control and got onto site. I know a lot of people out there who simply just go ahead and stop whenever there's a little bit of utility or a teammate dies and they don't continue pushing, which makes things 10 times worse because most of the time they'll just sit around in that little corner, they won't rotate or go to a different site, or they won't push onto site, they'll simply stay there. They can't make a decision because they're too afraid, which leads to their downfall both ways, and they're not playing the safe game. Either you push in onto site and commit to it even when a teammate goes down, even when there's a little bit of utility on there, or you simply rotate and get out. It's perfectly fine to rotate even when a teammate dies, but you just have to make that decision because I know a lot of people who simply will just sit in the corner and wait. The reason why it's bad is because obviously you get pinched from both angles and you end up can't rotating because it's too late and you can't push onto site because again it's too late and they're all on site now. Don't be afraid of actually pushing in and dying on site, but please don't use it as an excuse either. You actually have to do something in the other rounds too. Now we're going to be moving on to Yoru's abilities, and the first one up that he does have is his fake out. What his fake out is, it will last for 10 seconds and it is essentially footsteps that will go on the ground, which is like a decoy and will trick the enemies into thinking that it is him pushing. You have two different options with this one. You can either send it forward and move ahead, or you can simply get it to stay in one position and make noise in the exact location that you are. My best advice for this is to use it for intel gathering and simply tricking the enemy. It is very crucial here to confuse the enemy, and that is often how you win a lot of rounds in Valorant, by confusing them and they get caught off on a rotate or they're simply on the wrong side. Sometimes an enemy might put a bit of utility down or they might accidentally shoot it, even if they think it's an enemy and they're just pre-firing. You can use a lot of it for intel and you simply gather it through this way. The next method is to simply use it to get you out of sticky situations. A lot of the time, an enemy is going to be pushing you and you need to get away very easily. You can do this through a smoke or a teleport, but you can also do this with your footsteps. If you place it down in one position or send it in another direction, you go the opposite of that to trick them, you'll be able to get away safely and they'll think you've gone a different direction. The next ability is his blindside ability. This is a flash, and it will work in pretty much a different way to any other flash in the game. The flash will only set off when it collides with a hard surface. Therefore, you can ping it and rebound it off different walls, different angles. It's a very creative tool. It really does work in ways like no other, such as there's many tricks for it as well, such as being able to actually throw it down on the ground when an enemy is right in front of you, and being able to avoid it yourself while the enemy still gets hit by it. It's very creative, so have some fun with it and try it out. You'll need to get the hang of it, and you definitely want to be rebounding out of walls at different angles and ledges and sending it over the top too. But a message from the entire Valorant community, please watch out for when you are going to be flashing your teammates. Don't do it. The next ability that he has is his gate crash ability, which is pretty much a TP ability. He can either place it down on one location where he currently is standing, or he can simply send it ahead. What I mean by send it ahead is if there is a direction that you want to send it in, press fire, and what it'll do is go straight ahead and it will actually move until it hits a hard surface or a wall where it can't actually go through anymore. The ability will last for 30 seconds, which means once you place that teleport portal down, you'll then have 30 seconds afterwards to choose to teleport it or simply not go to it. The enemy can also see where this is. They can often hear a noise around it, and when you do TP, they'll hear a noise too, so be very, very careful about that. But most enemies in this game, I'm pretty sure don't wear headsets, so I think you'll be fine to TP anywhere you want. The best tips that I can give you for it are to simply use it as a backup plan and also to be very, very aggressive. You want to have that TP down pretty much at all times unless you really, really need to save it for a special reason. I would highly recommend putting it in a certain location where you're behind cover. There's a new position or location that you can get, and it's very advantageous for you to either rotate away or simply have a new position. What I mean by this is when you're on a site defending, if you put it down on one location on the right side, you place it down on your feet, and then you'll be able to go over to the left side and hold that area. If you get in some trouble and you need to TP out or go to a new location, you can TP over to the right side, you'll surprise them and pick up a few kills potentially. That will act as a backup plan and also as an aggressive play. You can also do the opposite, simply have a TP down near your defender-sided spawn, and you can just TP whenever you need to get completely out. An aggressive play is placing a TP down where you might end up dying when you go through it. They often can be very, very risky, but it does work sometimes. You will have to know when to do it. A certain situation will appear where it is very, very likely for the enemy to be distracted by it, or simply for you to gain a really, really advantageous position to the point where it makes it worthwhile. Next up is his ultimate ability, which is his dimensional drift ability. What will happen here is he'll equip a mask that can go into between dimensions. What will happen with this is he will be able to go through completely anything. He will not get shot by enemies, he will not take damage, nothing will be able to touch him, apart from Sky's ult. It really is a fantastic ability, and the main uses for it, what people do and what I do myself, is often using it to gain intel and pinging it out for teammates. That's very, very crucial, because you can't be shot, you can find out where they are. And also just using it to go into the enemy spawn, take the mask off, come back into your own dimension, and take them out or cause trouble. Again, some plays are more risky than others, but gaining intel and simply being able to rotate or traverse wherever you want to without getting shot is key here. So mainly for movement purposes, to gain intel, and at the same time an aggressive play to pick up kills here, you can simply go into a mask and then TP out right behind an enemy and take them out. It can work because often enemies are stupid, but again, be very, very careful that it is risky. That is the ultimate guide to Yoru. Thank you for watching. I hope it has helped you out. If it did, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe for more. Consider supporting me on Patreon. There's a link down below in the description. And I do stream on Twitch, link down below there too. And click on the video on your screen right now if you want to see me show you the top 5 crosshairs in Valorant. It's worth a watch.